Hi folks, Nick Dockert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Before we get into it, I do have to pay some bills, and please remember that the Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you with the love and support of our good friends over on the Independent Creator Directory. That is IndieCD.org, your one-stop shop for the best and the brightest authors, artists, and musicians. We are also made possible by sales of course, here, the Simple Sword, the Fighting Axe, and the Simple Spear. All part of our ongoing series of Western martial arts manuals designed to help you go from having never handled the sword to teaching the art to others. And as a special situation, which this has not been uploaded, so I need to fix that real quick, because this should be on all my videos. I am being sponsored by StompCon. StompCon is a free-to-the-public indie tabletop gaming convention that will be held September 19th, 2026, from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern at the Benton County Co-op Extension at 410 South Aidway A, Fowler, Indiana, 47944. During that convention, I will be there basically the entire time, and we will be running tactics games. We will be doing RPG things, and there is a lot of overlap between the people who are interested in Western martial arts and Eastern martial arts and wargamers. I am something of a tabletop game designer myself, and we will have free tourneys, free demos, grotesquely inexpensive miniatures, opportunities for all manner of very cool things. Now, this is going to be a little different than my usual Friday content, in that I have seen some things that require my ability to share what's going on. So we're going to come here. Let me get something set up. And we had some difficulty. How do I get there? Sorry. There we go. Oh, this will let you see what's going on. So give me just one moment. Alrighty. I found an interesting case, and that situation is this. People have been using technology to enhance Western martial arts for years. And it is something that we are often I'll get into that in a bit. That we are often commented upon, because very often I use polypropylene weapons. They're cheaper, they're more temperature tolerant, and I can afford to get them in the kinds of numbers that allow me to outfit my students. Because the vast majority of time, my students do not have the means to outfit themselves. Now, as that is a ongoing, basically for the last quarter of a century, I have been out of pocket outfitting my fighters. And throughout the whole period, I have been dedicated to study of historical books and manuals, with always the idea of what do they agree on. However, I am no longer a member of a recreation group. That means I currently do not have to dress in period, especially as a fencer, that most of my world exists outside of what the society considers period. This has always left me in a place of unease. Because the more people will push towards the steel weapons, the more I find, and not just the steel weapons, but using mass weapons in training with soft armor, it baffles me. It's unsafe. But it's been evolving, and throughout history, the ability to arm and armor oneself has been a deciding division between the upper crust and those who lurk beneath, the rich and the poor, the blessed and dominant, and the wretched and downtrodden. Now, as this is an ongoing process, and it's something that's been going on forever, I have watched time and time again the person's equipment be judged far more than the person. That has always bothered me. It will continue to bother me. However, technology is making changes. And right now it's really, I would consider a fledgling, just starting to fly, where you can have elements of a historical process made manifest in a modern convenience. As I said, I have come to prefer the polypropylene weapons. I use those to train people, and I seek and beg for some slight adjustment to those to make them perfect for what I do. They seem to creep ever closer. That all being said, I found, hanging all the way back, this file set. And the principle of this file set is allegedly to attach a Hilton guard to a dowel rod, giving you a proper grip. Now, I am currently doing this as recommended, and I'm doing it out of basic PLA. That's literally what's running right now. Should this print be successful, and let's be honest, I'm relatively new to this level of 3D printing, having taken it up for my side gig of designing, my other passion project, designing miniatures and tactics games. Where did the fiber go? But the situation came to my attention that people are making these. Now, I will not hold the material I am using as at all adequate for actual sparring. However, more advanced printers than mine, especially those who are equipped with the conveyor belt style, are fully capable of printing out long weapons in a single pass that are of materials like TPU, carbon fiber, that with the right geometry could lead to mass-produced, or not mass-produced, actually bespoke produced, digitally created training swords. Many people who hear about this either scoff because they've encountered most of the 3D prints that are fragile and bothersome, or they have run afoul of bad prints, or have problems with the leftover bits that these do, or whatever. The problem with all that, my friends, is that it denies the opportunity, the ability, and the hope for growth. Because I nearly died many years ago to heat stroke whilst fencing. If we can manufacture materials that are better at heat wicking, I wear Under Armour under my armor whenever possible to wick away the heat. That's back when I was encountering, I was doing things in the SCA. The challenge comes from then, do you allow it? Is it away from the intent? And I believe in the innate appreciation of inventiveness in the martial mind. All right? If there is an item that lets a fighter do what they do better at any point in history, save perhaps for some religious zealots and the like, you will find them seeking better gear that works more for what they do. I encourage you to do just that. This is the beginning of a discussion. This is not the beginning. This is the beginning of a new wave of a discussion I want to have with you. This discussion is, are you devoted to the gear to do Western martial arts or Eastern martial arts? Or are you devoted to the idea? I have trained and worked with people with such a vast quantity of weapons and disciplines that I cannot now nor ever really list them all. I've used sticks, PVC, I've used HDPE, I've used little rubber wibbly things, I have used Schlagers and sabers and epes and foils and rapier blades and fat rapier blades and blades made from driveway markers and shields made from stop signs. The point is, I have been doing this for so long with so many, with such little funds. In many ways, I'm qualified to do it with nearly nothing. As long as I can find a stick, I can train you. And I train me. There are many times I am somewhere where a practice sword would be out of place. But my drills are beyond a discipline. My drills, my nightly drills to me are spiritual. They're borderline a religious action, a call and a response to making peace with the threats I've witnessed, to establishing to mitigate those threats should they ever arise again. And many of those are internal. They are the memories that we all fight when we have experienced trauma. There will always be those who don't believe the masses should have access to that kind of training. There will always be those who believe that only the worthy shall have the opportunity to learn. One of the first people I trained under, who I shall never refer to as a swordmaster, felt as such. I watched intense and deep lines be carved in prospective, quality students by, of course, health, but also by race, by gender, by religion. I am a person who believes that the agnosticism of the swordmaster is a requirement, in that it is not my job to preach to you my beliefs. It is not my job to force, however noble, or in the case of this gentleman, I use it loosely, foul. I remember. So I am forever eager to behold, if you will, opportunities to find ways to make training easier or faster or less dangerous. So we need to forever study the wisdom of the past. Absolutely. I have been an armorer at times. I love working with leather. When I get a chance and my hands are up to it, it is a joy. However, that does not mean that I will ever turn down an opportunity for free gear that could help somebody. An opportunity where I can do double or triple duty. Anything that helps the mission. I believe everyone has a mission. I believe everyone needs a mission. And I have not been subtle about mine. But perhaps for the benefit of those watching, I should elucidate. My goals in my personal study of Western martial arts have been, first and foremost, to, through the physical development and the mental discipline of Western martial arts, gain control and understanding both of my physical presence and my mental state. For some, the martial arts are a fortress to lock away themselves and drive away everyone. For some, the martial arts are a tonic that lets them be who they are or wish they were. This happens to anyone involved. But in my case, my first greedy and powerful devotion originally was to control myself. I was an angry, angry young man. And I am still, at times, an angry person. But it comes now as an old friend who has walked beside me for a long time. A dark mirror of what I could be, because I do not allow it to become what I am. This is made possible through studies of the thinking, the physicality, the assessment of the martial arts. It is the calling of a certain piece of my heart. And I learned very on, and I must forever, in a almost perverse way, be appreciative of the foulness of my first instructor. Because in that time, I was granted, I learned from other people bits and pieces. I'll make that crystal clear. He was not the first person to put a sword in my hand. And I will also credit that I learned a lot from the man in spite of his best efforts instead of because of them.
I'm on my way party, and then I'll go back to Ian.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I have to, because this is running, I have to keep the door open for ventilation, or else it will smell very bad here. But there is another part to it, and a part they never grasped. When I look back at the things I endured, that I occasionally speak of, but never to great detail unless it is absolutely necessary, because it is a painful thing to discuss. It bore into me twofold thoughts. The first is never again. I do not mind the idea of losing a physical altercation. I have lost many. I, however, do mind losing in the way where you can do nothing about it. The paralytic, devolving, soul-rending style of loss. This is the enemy. I had to think for a while. This path opened up the words "never again" to me. Never again do I want to be that kind of victim, and never again do I want to be that kind of angry. So I have dedicated myself in my early training and my private training, what I do beyond the scope of sword mastery for others. What happens late at night when nobody's around. All that is born from the simple idea of never again doesn't just apply to me. It doesn't. This is a radically different mentality when faced with the attitude of people who want to upgrade themselves at the neglect of their followers, of their students, of their friends. I do not have followers. Online, obviously that term gets around. But I do have some great people that I know and that I love. And the simple truth is this, my friends. I carry a lot of love in me. I believe that to be the source of a lot of my anger, a lot of my sorrow. The simple truth of carrying so much love and being so limited in what I can do with it. I can only do so much to protect people. So, when given the opportunity, I want to give everything I have to the folks who need it to keep them safe. Admitting it is insufficient for true mastery, I admit it. My goal is and has always been to be a footstool. That's it. To help you reach a higher shelf. And people go, what do you get out of it? What is it? Is it debt? Is it some kind of bizarre thing? It's not that. It's not that complex. The idea is I get that seeing you, every one of you, succeed, it means perhaps I have done something on this world that carries with it a point of value, a point of merit. Not even in the measurement of judgment or some kind of karmic repercussions. It leaves me with this necessity because if you can ascend, I don't forget that others can, and maybe me. And through it, I have to find the means to help anyone reach their goal. And if I keep the domain of my pursuit tight, if I keep it controlled, I can do things. I can do something about the things I see, the inequalities. The loss of people who do not pursue the dream, not because of any lack of value in the dream, but in the necessities of the cost and reality and all. No. I am always looking to make it better, amusing, kind. I'm always trying to make the world a place where the people who are the most harmed have a chance to get their power back. Where the people who are most vulnerable grow defense and perception to not be. And that means I will use every tool I have at my disposal. That means at some point in the near future, I am going to mount my throatless Beverly shear and I'm going to start cutting out stuff out of whatever metals I can find that are vaguely appropriate. Guards and gauntlets and whatever I have the parts to do and the need from someone to do. technology. I have studied the history to learn much of how it's done historically. And then I nod and go, how can I do it if 10 people show up in my life at the same time and say, Nick, I need to learn how to sword fight. I need to get me back. I cannot afford to do as I have done, which is simply find deals and buy in bulk to give and to use for everyone all the time, and most often neglect my own needs. The only way we're going to move forward is by using the technology it has, because technology in its deepest root, as much as I love history, technology marks the path of growth for our species and possibly our destruction. Yet, as people fear technology can be used to enslave and it can also be used to elevate if used creatively. Go look at the price of goods. I want you to. I want you to do the research for yourself so you don't have to trust me. Go to PHA, Purple Heart Armory. I have a link. If you buy anything, use my link. I might get a little cutback if the system is still working. If not, well, I desperately could use the money, especially for what we do. I don't care. It is more important that the folks over Purple Heart Armory, the wonderful folks they are, recognize that I'm out here doing something and perhaps pass the signal along, because in the sidelines it benefits them. But I'm doing non-combative stuff. Just how to make a sword flow. Drills. I can 3D print off a trainer. If I can, you can. You can combine these concepts. I intend to experiment now that I have the means with making the riggings, both out of metal with forging and welding and brazing and whatever other technique I have to acquire and learn some measure of to make this go. But also, I've been playing with little CAD programs since CAD was new. I live in a state now where system-wise, I could grab an idea, render it out one way or another without using AI, and make something functional, depending on what you call functional and how pretty you need it. I didn't have to now. As I said, I'm going to bring it back up. Let's bring it like this. This is my bamboo slicing program. It takes STL files and a bunch of other kinds, but I like STL. I think in STL. I'm used to handling them mentally. And it puts them on the plate of my bamboo A1 mini printer. This little guy, who really needs some upgrades. Great printer, though. I'm enjoying it immensely. far more than the others that I've dealt with. I had to tinker because it is a small bed printer. That's what I could afford. It is dramatically cheaper because a great many things do not natively fit there. So I have been forced to improvise and slightly shrink down not only this lovely half a blade, half a hilt and guard and all the goodness, but all the little bolts that would go with it proportionally. So it would fit. I don't know if I'm just making a pretty mock-up right now. I don't know if I'm wasting PLA. I may be. It may be incredibly foolish, but I am trying. Because if you look at the slicing result, and this is a slicing result, I believe, of just, let me see. Slice all. I want to look at both of them. Color scheme, filament. I don't know why it's not giving me the money for it. But if I can render these passively while I am doing something else, and I can slide whatever blade I want in there. This is just a prototype for me. I didn't make this. A gentleman made it. I don't know his name offhand. Made it available for free through, I believe, Bamboo Labs. So others can print it off. If you don't think I'm mentally preparing myself to design similar hilts based on the ones I've loved that can be 3D printed, you're off your rocker. It may be the only way I get my paws on a practical, sparable, for lack of a better word, Carlos IV Bilbo. Could I? Could I get one? Yes. If I chose to throw lots of money at it. Triple digits and up. Maybe 4 digits. Wouldn't surprise me. But with this, I can take a quantity of filament, and it's about 64 grams, so we're going to double that to, let me see, over here. Yep, 64 and 61, and there's points. So it's going to blow out to about 120 grams of filament material. All of it's, of course, out of reach, so I can't hold it up. But if I can make this work, guys, and I can do it passively, I can outfit people again, not just with improvised products, because I do. Many of my students learned the vast majority of the basics with dowel rods of one form or another. I'm still quite fond of half-inch by 36-inch dowel rods. Gives me a good length for a training sword. Touch short for some people, but I like it. I'm a touch short in height. But this means, right here, this means if we can make it out of practical materials. I mean, there are metal functioning 3D printers like this. You understand that? If I can make the riggings even, and even if I have to outsource the blade, maybe I find I need nylon foil style blades or whatever to work. It's light years ahead of where I was. And with the increasing ubiquitousness of a device like this, assuming it hasn't just gone nuts, nope, it's just being clever. The ubiquitousness of a device like this, I can gather the files and say, here you go. My students who, and friends who are in the Netherlands or South America, I can't afford shipping. Many times it would be cheaper to just give them the money and say, here, buy this and this, and you're good, than it would be for me to buy something and ship it. But if they have this, I could say, here are the files. Today we're going to be working with long fighting knives. So you have this many days to find the time to print off this many of these styles of knives. No more or less, and nothing else. For the purpose of this training arc, this section will be permitted. And he could go down and go tick, tick, tick. Set settings the same, use the same tool, roughly the same printer. Might be bumpy because of humidity. But I'm sorry. Real facts, I haven't had more than had 1 day of decent sleep in the last 5 or 6. And the majority of them have been 3 to 4 hours. I am a tired man. But I have acknowledged that I need to focus more on the Historical Fencing Guild than I have. I need to give back more than I've been able to. I have, through necessity, had to put things in the back burner. It is time to move them forward. It is time to look at this technology. Because if we can 3D print weapons, I ask you, my friends, how many of the cosplayers have you seen walking around in Halo armor, in motorcycle armor? The same principles apply. We take period useful patterns. We study them, what works, what doesn't. We compile them, and then we digitally render the result. Either through physically making it our dang selves and then scanning it, or doing it digitally and then printing it off piece by piece by piece by piece until such time as the mission is accomplished. We all need this. And the only way we're going to get it is by reaching out, by selecting what matters and recognizing the opportunities of the technology that is just a breath away. This is the future. Will this work? I have no idea. Am I likely printing absolute garbage? Sure. It's not the first time I've seen it. Not my first rodeo, but perhaps one of the most elegant and the first time I've had the physical means not to have to borrow someone else's. And again, even if this is not fit for concussive maintenance, if this is not fit for sparring, if it's comfortable, it gives you a 3-hole grip. If it's sturdy enough to not break whilst going through your drills, it will make your it will make your comrades more what they feel they are, what they need. So, I want to thank the person who's watching this. I know I came late. I know this is an odd video. I've rambled quite a bit. But I wanted to show you guys in real, live, breathing color. I'm really wishing this thing had a enclosure. I'm going to have to get one. Don't know how, but we'll figure something out. I won't be able to do this. This is the beginning. Even though my print bed is tiny, it's simple enough to use for a great many things. And do I prefer the idea of actual metal, actual period designs in a lot of places? Sure. The poet in me adores it. The dreamer in me longs for it. But the realist in me goes, Nick, you have gone through your drills with a plunger because it was the only stick in the house. I think I'm blinking, guys. I know I am. I don't know how long I was out for a second there, to be honest. I'm falling asleep streaming. Not my first time. Sometimes you got to give everything you have. And while I can make things like this through other means. And I can't have, and I will again. If I can do this through passive means, and it frees me to do other things that maybe can't be made this way. If I could be making gear while I am teaching, and maybe I'm recording both to get content for this channel, and I'm making notes of what I'm doing to be the basis of the next book. These items are paramount. Oh, hey, some person. You might have to stream early. They're probably out doing things. Okay. But hope you're doing well. The opportunity to share and to elevate you guys' situation is something I'm pursuing. And I'm going to tell you what. Has a very old, frankly, very disabled and very overweight remnant of a Western martial artist. Who does his drills every day he's physically able to, and may feel a little silly about it sometimes. If I can find gear that takes the weight away, that gives cooling or breathability, I'm going to take it. Because it's not about going back for me. It never has been. It has been about understanding what came before, because what comes before, while it does not mirror the future, it rhymes. And I do not know who said that first, but it is a quote I value. It is my intent, my goal and my mission to help people get a little bit better. And if I could, folks, if I had the funds and the opportunity, good Lord, the things I'd do. There are so many people, like right now, I can list that, with a couple waivers in some cases, and the right amount of money, I would outfit them in a heartbeat, head to toe, because they're passionate, because they have potential. And I know I may not be able to bring it to fruition. I may not be able to guide them to their peak. And frankly, nor should I. That is not my mission. There are two ways to elevate an art. Okay? Only two. You can reach for the top. Pursue the Olympic standard. Not in rule set, because I don't believe a saber should be treated like a whip weapon. But the top. To find out who is the best of the best. To strain to be, if not the best in the world, the best you can be. And that's part of it. But there is another way. It's to build up the overall average. The way you do that is, instead of stretching the peak of the triangle of skills, if you had just the most basic and limited, fresh into sparring grade students, and those who are competent enough to hold their own and fight, do things, those who share both the competence and the skill to begin to help teach, to train and assess, those who can teach and those who can ascend, and then the true greats, both in coaching and teaching and in the art itself. I have known such people. And I have no doubt that for such a pursuit, I have been weighed, measured, and found lacking. And that was a long time ago. You don't go as gray as early as I have without having seen some stuff, having done some stuff, having endured. I'm okay with that. But I'm always looking for ways to help others chase the dream. I never want you all to be trapped in the sensation of being an NPC in the story of your own life. I never want anyone to be a victim. And the only ways I can do that, the only ways I can reach this goal, is to either slay all the monsters, to rid the world of the need to even ponder martial arts for a practical sense. Which, obviously, I cannot do. But I'll check something. I'll check something because I'm curious. Yeah, let's do this. We're going to see if I can get that to do something cool. I don't know if it'll work. We're going to see. I can. It is. Come on. There we go. It will do a time lapse. It's not very exciting, but it does show the thing going. My life is not my own, my friends. It hasn't been for a very, very long time. But having the opportunity to show you the future, and if I can, find means, elevate means, proliferate means to help everyone get better. Now, would I love you to all go down to a wonderful company like Purple Heart Armory and have the money to buy what they have? Heck yeah. If you want to be a person of the world, LK Chen has some beautiful trainers. I'd love to go back to Triplet and Zen Warrior Armory and go, hey guys, remember who you were? Be that again, but cheaper. More economically for the people who need. Because if you can do that, if by some strange chance you can see that idea, then you're starting to think like I'm trying to be. "20 years ago, guys, just about, I stepped out of bed and my spine decided to turn into a pile of Jenga blocks. It just, things dislocated like somebody just switched the discs like switches. Like, I can't even describe it. And the pain was unbelievable. And I crawled on my hands and knees to go to the bathroom that day. That night, that moment. I went to the ER and they looked at me and they said, here's the situation. You have the choice of a $700,000 spine fusion surgery, or there is a chance you can go through a mix of physical therapy, chiropractic, and a few other things, and you might be able to piece things together. But you need to be prepared and speak with your family and adjust your living arrangement because you will need a wheelchair in 6 months. That was over 20 years ago. I walk with a stick some days, especially if I'm going out far. I see no shame in that. I tell you these things because I understand my limitations. I've been doing this a very long time. Even this channel's been up quite a while. Heck, go look at the first video again. I'm still teaching the same drills. I still do essentially the same drills every night. I may rotate them. I may add more lunges because I'm insane. But same drills. Same 9 guards. I had very few rights and rotes and programs that run the same way all the time. My brain doesn't allow me that luxury. When I build a wheel, very often I have to reinvent it every single time in my head. It means I've gotten really good at piecing the beginnings together. And for a very, very long time, I have relied on technology to accomplish what I could not. I have done these videos streaming out all over the world at points. And through those, I've been able to help people I've never met. It matters. And understanding how to use the tools that are constantly in development. This is the battered TV copy. This is the one I signed for my wife. It has seen better days. It's a little boxed. I need to redo the cover. I need to do a grayscale one to make it cheaper. I'm working on these things. Cutting out the parts most people don't need. Perhaps adding explanations in other parts. I believe the date of publishing is this was 20 year. I dated. I bet I forgot to. I want to say it was 2016. I think because I'm 10 years. I'm over 10 years of that running around. I've improved since then. Maybe not in my physicality, but my brain. Because I'm very good at looking at students and seeing what they need. And I spend a lot of time. What keeps a student from being able to train? Restrictions of physicality. These are things like handicaps. These are things like being short, being overweight, having conditions. We adapt for those. We look at what you need. And I say we together. We look at what you need. What you need to be able to do the best in whichever group or no group you are participating in, for whatever reason. If it's Amp Guard or Society or Canorac or the Knights of Badassdom, I don't care. You tell me their rules. You tell me their conventions. And we figure out a way to help you do it and do it the best you can with what you got. So we help you get the material stuff. If you can't afford armor, guess what? You get to learn to sew. You get to learn to hammer and peen a rivet. Maybe you get to learn to thread a pommel with a tap and die. Maybe you already have these skills. You just didn't think to apply them. Maybe you learn the financial side to save up for the parts you need. I've yet to find a good home mask system. I would delight. To this day, if I could get a mask that worked like the helmet from Lost in Space, which looked like the default version of a Jaffa helmet, I even designed one at one point. It wasn't perfect, but I worked on it, and I may work on it again. That is the technology side. Technology could be as simple as knowing what the proper stick is and how to shape it. Okay? This is anytime you are using your skills and your research to manipulate your surroundings to accommodate what you want. Congratulations, you are making use of technology. Maybe not state of the art. And yet, by that same principle, this device running behind me, even, again, if it is no better than a prop. And it is, where are we? Well, let me look. Let's look at this. This is interesting. I am about halfway done with this print. Okay? Assuming it makes what it's supposed to do. That's half. Half of the, well, cancel. No, I don't want to lose that. Because if I do that, it'll cut out. Of this dude right here. I gotta do it again for the other side. Then I gotta glue it together. Run the pins, glue it together. Somehow, it's supposed to take a dowel rod. I don't know. Won't know till I have the piece in my hand. And isn't that exciting? But if I can make something like this work, this is a free download. That means for the cost of one mid-grade trainer, if we're being honest with ourselves, I think this was between $100 and $200. Now, I create miniatures for games. Big Stumpy Robots. It's fun to play. I'm going to make commercials for that this weekend, probably. But I also do the guild. And I can use this technology to offset and help equip you. Because you can say, hey, I can go into the, what is it called? The bamboo whatevers. Yeah, the media files. And as you can see, I have experimented with quite a bit. These pieces don't get shown. These are Nerf blasters. There is nothing ATF-able in any of that. These are all Nerf blaster type objects that I've done up here. And these are other models that are just around. Although I will probably need to acquire that because that looks like it could be really handy. Anyway. This gives me hope. Because as these things become commonplace, the tools to do what we do, or to simulate doing what we do, will become more commonplace. Even if I can't fight with this, having a proper grip for criminy's sake could make my own day-to-day drilling so much more comfortable. So much easier on what's left of my hands. That means it could be so much easier on your hands. Mine is smaller. I had to fit it on the bed. You may be able to do other things. And honestly, looking at the look of it, I'm going to like it. Because I have very wide, very stubby hands. My hands are girthy. Take that as you will. But this is going to be a thing. And it's made possible by this technology. Do not allow your love for the elegance of history to remove your understanding of the technology involved. Do not let the Victorians, my God, has there ever been a more cultish and deranged invasion of human history and records and knowledge than the deranged Victorians with their mix of prudishness and twisted morality that overwrote everything? You'll forgive an old history student a rant against the Victorians. Sorry if that was too political for some of you. But I could live stream this. I could just sit here. I could just do, here. I could put this back up. I could, just bring up the device. Let it click and work for your amusement. Because that's taking the most elegant, in my mind, one of the most hope-inducing technologies and applying it to something I love that I've used as a tool to literally save lives. Yes, indeed, in some physical altercations, the techniques have been effective, but more so, the building of the mentality of the value of one's oneness, of seeing that you are more than your weakest day. If I were seriously building this to spar with, I see changes. I would thicken it up. It would be solid. It would cost a fortune in probably PETG or something dastardly like that. Maybe carbon fiber. But I am not squandering this. And more importantly, I am preserving the ideas of kindness and dedication through the martial arts. My philosophies on training, my philosophies on inclusion in the Soleil, of sovereignty of the Soleil, of equality and equity in the Soleil, in the list field. You're either a student and a master, a student and a teacher, or you are one opponent with another. Social ranking stops at the list ropes. Wealth stops at the list ropes. Integrity lives on. Because once you step inside that rectangle or circle or whatever shape you're making it, all the BS that we have to generate, all the hierarchies beyond that which I've mentioned fuzz right out. The only hierarchies are you trying to learn or are you trying to win? Or are you trying to teach? And are they able to? And yes, equipment kicks in. You can't learn with busted equipment. Well, you can, because I'm insane, but you shouldn't have to, and it does impede. This item right here by this brilliant person. I don't know if their name is credited anywhere in here. I can't find it offhand. This blessed lunatic who took the time to not just 3D print this goofy thing, and I say that with all the love in the world, but took the time to split it and present it. The brilliant individual We should have made their discard into a cup guard and it would have been superior.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Spanish fencer in me keeps coming out. Because the Spanish did it right.
Feel free to be offended at your leisure. This person's memory in form of this item will be eternal as long as the technology exists and the information is stored. Their life is irrelevant to the preservation of this technology, this thought, this idea. When I go and set mine up, as I intend to, it will not fail to remember him. It will not fail to think of the person who made the guards for my personal weapons. It will reflect and build. And I know people are going to say, oh, you're fencing in motocross gear. It's hard over soft. My hands can move. I'm not dying of sweat. Literally. This is what I'm making. And the great thing is, with this technology, when you figure out the sizes and the percentages, take it from the size that works on the big one to what's truly comfortable in your hand, preferably gloved, you can tweak it. If you have a bed big enough, you can make it larger. You can make it smaller. But the technology is supporting the mission. And that's impressive. That's what I wanted to talk about tonight. That's what drove me, though I'm so exhausted I could face plant, and so hungry I'm shaking, to set out to show you guys this. And to incorporate it into the plan, the mission. Because I will tell you a great and terrible secret. I believe in my soul, to me, and it's not my place to put this on anyone else, the work far outstrips and transcends the worker. The dream elevates far beyond the dreamer. This is why I love Death of the Author. It's never been about me. In fact, I'm intensely uncomfortable when people make anything about me. It's not who I am, not what I am. Get better. Some of you may feel the need, if you catch this in the distant future or to the next few minutes before I wrap up, to scoff, to say the idea of using modern tech like that is somehow unclean. Many of you confuse cults for creativity out there. And with that, you have my deepest condolences and my earnest hope from the bottom of my heart that you can transcend and escape. Those who know, know. And those who don't, either they've never been down that road or they're down that road and don't know it. My buddy Ron's a heck. Well, let's be honest, he's one hell of a mire fighter. Not my strength suit. Most of my two-handed sword stuff goes back to katana, much to the annoyance of some of my more Chinese-oriented martial arts friends. That's okay, too. It is what I am. I accept it. Mighty is the messer. The historical middle finger to any organization that doesn't want people to have the ability to defend themselves. And a delightful sign of human consistency in our rebellious nature. A technology built around loopholes, which is in itself sorcery. So it gets back to that. If my book is out there, especially tangibly, a lot of forces right now don't like hard copy anything because it can't be altered. It holds its truths as it is created. The honesty of hard copy is beautiful. The tangibility, the permanence, it's important. This is out there. It's out there in digital form. That book is sitting in libraries. That book is on coffee tables and backpacks. Meaning, were I to be foolish enough to step outside and get smacked by a seed truck and turned into unintentional creative art all over the road, regardless of if I truly have an emotional impact of any depth beyond that, the intellectual existence is still doing good. A long time ago, my book was pirated in Russia and in China. And they're not really selling it much to, Western audiences, but it's bouncing around. And it's funny because it'll bounce around internationally, and I'll suddenly get a sale in Perth, Australia. And that's always good. But what's better, what moves me, what keeps me doing this from that side of things, when I am too sick or too isolated or too financially unable to go and do what I would, when my obligations prevent my acquiescence to the invitation. On the dark days and nights when I am physically unable to hold something, as I was 2019, 2020, when the nerves decided to randomly die and everything went blank. What kept me sane was grabbing 2 markers, big permanent markers, the kind of big ones with the little nub, and hammering out like a child stabbing a toy my books. Pretty sure that's how the Fighting Axe got written. Amid the nerve spasms and the agony while they figured out what was going on. Still stab. Some of my BSR books were written for a while, because this is all I had. I say that not as braggadocio. I say that not as give me attention and glory. I say that simply as an example of what sometimes is necessary when the mission is more important than the person it's assigned to. When you embrace the fact that historically, wealth rarely finds the creators who are its source. They are often forgotten. But if even one person I've never met watches these videos and takes worth, one person reads that book and says, I can do this. Or it's supplements. And they are supplements, guys. They were meant to build on the lessons learned in this. The fighting axe and the simple spear. The rapid rapier is still in the works. I just have some contractual obligations I have to work ahead of it. And I am. I am never idle in the background, my friends. Maybe slow. I may not be ambulatory, but I'm never idle. And that's the damn point. If it's done any good for anyone, then it has value. Therefore, I've generated some value. I have a lot more I wish I could say. I have a lot more I would say. However, given the hour and my biological necessities, I can but pause and rest, lest I overshare more than I already have, and lest I lose the thread any farther. I don't need you to believe you can fly. You don't have to. You don't need to believe that you can ascend from where you are to a better place through your skills and your dedication towards your dreams. You don't need to believe it. All you need to know, wherever you are, no matter how dark, dim, or damp, wherever you are, if you look hard enough, you will find a step stool, maybe a stairway, a point to step up out of the mire that drags us down. And for some wonderful folks, it has been my honor and privilege to be that step stool. Watch them go just a notch higher. I've seen some launch. Another story that needs to be written and illustrated, as I don't know if my skill is going to get any really higher than it is, so it's getting on time. For those of you who watch my art streams, I have, for this project, this portion of it, another half hour, probably a bit less, it looks like, but roughly a half hour. giving it time to do cooldowns and shenanigans, because I also have to wait for that very, very hot metal plate to cool down enough for me to go and pop the pieces I need off. But hopefully by next week, if God is willing and the creek don't rise, I will have a test piece, a rudimentary prototype based on that person's design, which I really need to try to find the designer's name again so I can tell you. And from it, perhaps I can make something similar that works the way I wish things worked. And then, of course, I will disseminate it. And maybe you guys will get a sword out of it. Well, a trainer. But then again, when all's said and done, once the design for sword hilt is out, what you slide into that sword hilt is entirely up to you, because Lord knows I can't stop it. So keep that in mind. And keep trying, folks. I know it's dark. I know it's scary. I know the world is full of hatred and pain and abuse and villainy and cruelty and greed. I know that vile men and women attempt to walk like giants through the playgrounds of people who simply wish a decent life. But every giant falls. Every story ends. Every chapter comes to a close. And in the event that such things happen, a wise person has contingencies in place. But the price of despair is not worth admission. And worry is, as they say, a waste of perfectly good imagination. Seriously, find something you are attracted to and imagine that instead. Someone, something, I'm not here to judge. And if you're one of those people who don't have attraction of either romantic or physical boffery as a motivation, pie. There's always pie. And cake. And good music. That is the shape of the wings you are trying to grow. What you are passionate about. That should be the spark that dances on your hand as it wraps around the hilt. A light, however, dim in the darkness, that is ignited by your courage, your creativity, and your dedication, your integrity, your honor, your nobility of heart and action, your mercy, and your sincerity. These are marked along the edge of the blades you wield. Be they plastic or steel, be they blunt or sharp enough to cut a hair. To split a hair. That is the definition you should seek from your perspective. And as you're doing that, guys, I have but one more thing that I must convey from the bottom of my heart. And that is simply appreciation. So, guys, keep your guard up. Do your drills. Be kind to yourself and each other. And as technology guides us to a more independent future, let's make it a kinder one, too. Thank you for supporting your local swordmaster. I will endeavor to be back next week. I may not, as it is my birthday, and I have no idea what may or may not be planned. I'm keeping it loose, so to speak. And even I deserve the odd planned day off, and not, dear Lord, there's another catastrophe. So, guys, I will see you soon. And if you aren't on, if you're watching me on YouTube, please be sure to go to my other channel, the Nicholas Tucker channel, where I do art and occasional games and a vast amount of bizarre shenanigans, including a morning show called Nevermind the Furthermore for creatives. Those are creative at heart. It runs from 10 a.m. to 11 Monday and Friday, and on Wednesday it runs as far as 5 hours because it is my art program where, to keep sharp between commissions and planned projects, I draw the thumbnails for the next week. And I occasionally take your requests and suggestions. I'll see y'all real soon. Love you guys. You should too. Doodles.